Hello and welcome to the Health Odyssey podcast, episode 195. We are on episode 195. I don't quite know how we got there, but this summer we would have been doing this, Pete, for 4 years, every single week for 4 years, which is quite incredible. But we are here and we are joined by a very special guest today, and we're going to talk about lots of things with him, including something that we've never even mentioned on the podcast in 195 episodes. And if I'm honest, something that I don't actually know what it is. So it's going to be really good to kind of find out that. I'll be finding out at the same time as you're finding out what it is. But this guy has done loads of stuff. We just had a little chat before we've started recording. Loads of stuff in his career. Loads of kind of endurance based stuff, and now he's moving, always learning, always evolving, like all of us, and signed up for something pretty special. So we're gonna talk to him in a minute, but first of all I'm going to go to my usual co-host, Mr. Peter Lant, and find out how he's doing in Bath. How are you doing, Pete?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. The thing we're going to talk about today, like I was saying, I've never even said it, let alone said it on the podcast. So, not that I know of. I might have said the two words in the same sentence,
Yeah.
but not actually just as the thing. So, yeah, go.
It's great, and you are
Very
a very
interesting.
outdoors person yourself, Pete, aren't you? So I think this is from the couple of minutes we've just had a chat with Nick just now. I think it's kind of certainly some of the things he's done. He's mentioned tabbing and all that. Well, we don't want to give anything away, but yeah, it's up your street as well.
Well, it is, but I'm more of a gentle outdoorsman of just like what we're talking about, but for hours, up and down hills and that. Nothing like, I've done a few silly things, but generally based on just a very long time. Nothing very strenuous, just doing it over like 40 hours or something, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, we are joined today by Nick Rainbird. How are you doing, Nick?
Yeah, all good, thanks. Yeah, all good, James.
Excellent. And I know that we did say before we came on, this is your first podcast that you've done as a guest, and you've listened to about 3 in your life, which is great. So you've got some grounding. So people...
one of which was one of the was so that's great.
It's very true.
But that's great. That's great. It's kind of like good because I just said, well, it's just us 3 having a conversation, and finding out about each other. And it's quite nice. Yeah. So yeah, Nick, I mean, do you want to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself? Kind of maybe like, how old you are now, how long you've been in the fitness industry, maybe what you did before that, what your route in was, why you got involved in it, kind of what, I mean, there's loads of questions we're going to obviously, have on the way. But if you just want to maybe kind of like start teeing up kind of, who you are, what you do, where you're from, and that sort of thing. And then we can kind of progressively find out more as we go, if that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, you've opened a can of worms there. You say talk, and I'm afraid it's just sort of snowballs. You might have to say.
Yeah, if I do this, then it means cut it short. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so how I got into fitness. I was in my mid-20s. I just got divorced, and I thought I've got some spare time, so I'll go to the gym. Never been to the gym before. Went down to the gym, got into weights, bodybuilding, put on a good few stone in a few months, and that. And I thought, so where's this actually going? So then I started to get into more outdoor-based exercise, like starting going for runs. Then I got into mountain biking, and I thought it's not all about bulking up; it's about being fit, it's being healthy for what you want to do. And people sort of noticed I'd gone from 9 stone dripping wet to 13 stone, and said, "What you doing?" And then they started asking me if I could give them some pointers. And I thought, well, not really. I've got no qualification, but hell, I'll go and get one. And then I just so started doing my level 2. Went down to the local gym and said, "Got any jobs?" And within weeks, they came back and said, "Yep, you're in." Oh, right, great. So it just kind of snowballed. And from that moment, it's been a case of just keep saying yes. Do you want to do this course? Do you want to do that course? Do you fancy trying this for us? Yeah. And it just really gained momentum from there. And then after a few years, I did my first triathlon, which was the London.
So
Did
what
it
would
to
that have
raise
been?
money.
Would that have been like a sprint distance or an Olympic distance? What would that have been your first one?
That was Olympic.
Okay.
And it was at that point I thought, I need to get some swimming lessons. You know, quite a lot of swimming involved, so I need to get that going on. So I did that, joined the local tri club, did one of their sort of taster tries, which was a super sprint. Then up came London, and from there on, I just started racing here, then everywhere. As I said to you earlier, I took it up to Ironman distance, and then did a couple more Olympics after that. Then I got a coaching qualification, and I must admit, I actually enjoyed the coaching. You know what it's like in the fitness industry. You love seeing people come from one place to another with it, and I really enjoyed the coaching element of it. So I stopped racing, coached more. Then that kind of went by the by. Paddleboarding came up, so I started racing paddleboards, as did my wife. She's a fierce woman on the water. And that was the last few years. And yeah, and now my latest thing is, as I said to you earlier, tabbing, which is what my brother got me into, and it's quite addictive in a painful way.
Because what do they call tapping in America? Because we've had this. Is it rucking?
It's rucking,
Yes.
Rucking. They
Yeah.
call it in America, don't they? Or tabbing over here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the listeners and things, because again, it's something that we've probably mentioned. It's been mentioned maybe only once or twice, I think, on here. But what is tabbing?
Well, TAB is an acronym. It's a military acronym, Tactical Advance into Battle. So, very brief summary of what it is. Parachute regiment, they would drop their men in 10 miles behind enemy lines for their objective. They would then have to carry all their gear up to about £100 plus over 10 miles, then engage the enemy, etc., etc. So it's a hard, you know, in the military, it's an incredible thing they do. But I do it as a leisure pursuit, but I do appreciate fully what they do with it. So done the fan dance a few times, which is the SAS selection route over Penny Fan in the Brecon Beacons, and that's with because of my tender age, I'm getting on a bit now. I had to do that with 2 stone on my back. We do the parachute regiment 10 milers as well, but they just say you're carrying £36, the same as anyone else. Get on with it. So yeah, but it's all good. I'm not sure fun is the word, but it's a great challenge, and the training's pretty good fun as well. And obviously it does keep you fit, and done some extra challenges with that, like 29-hour fast with 10 miles of tabbing spread through it, that kind of thing. And yeah, it just opens up new doors. So that's my current fitness.
I will quickly just say, Nick, that I know when we were with Dan John the other weekend, he said he was taking the mick, wasn't he, Pete, about using the phrase in stone, because no one in America knows what stone is.
I was like, right, hang on.
So 2 stone for our North American listeners is carrying about 28 pounds on your back. Yeah. In a pack. Yeah. So
because I've done I did the fan dance about, when did I do it? 2017. Like, I've only done it once. And the first bit was great. We did it actually overnight.
Oh, right, yeah.
Started at 10 o'clock at night, but it was a lush day. It was like in June in 2017, and it was so hot that I was glad we were doing it at night. But it was great because it was a full moon as well, so all of the trails were all kind of lit up where everybody was. It was absolutely fantastic. But going up and over the first way is great, but coming back up and over Jacob's Ladder is it's horrible. It's not even like you haven't got a pack on your back. So yeah.
So Pete, did you do it, Pete, with a pack as well?
Yeah, it was a 16 kilo or whatever it is. Like, what is that? What it is? 30.
Yeah, you said 36 pounds, didn't you, or something? Yeah.
You can do it Lodestone, where you carry a pipe and all that sort of stuff, and you do it.
Oh, right. I do it with
like 25 kilos or something, but I didn't do that.
Yeah, I do it with avalanche events.
Yeah.
Ken's a top bloke, so I always do it with his team.
Yeah, but I live in Bath, so we were at the Brecons this weekend actually at Sugarloaf in Abergavenny, because it's only like just over an hour away, and then Pennyfan's an hour and a half away. So we go over there all the time. It's great.
So Nick, for people who are listening and not watching, I mean, this is on YouTube as well, but many people will listen. And you said because of your age. So just that, to give it, how old are you, Nick? Just for listeners to know.
57.
57. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, you don't look that, do you, at all? Do you get told you don't look your age usually, or?
Oh, trust me, I've got all the filters on here.
Okay. Well, no, I'm going to say all this outdoor activity and this fit lifestyle and this, being out in the fresh air and doing all
Absolutely.
this. It's obviously, it's obviously doing something good for you. So yeah. So
Yeah.
sorry. So at the moment, tabbing is the kind of the endurance sort of activity of choice. Yeah. Is that, how often do you do tabbing then at the moment?
It can be twice a week, but it's very hard on the joints. So generally once a week, and I tend to keep it topped up in between times with sort of flow movements and a lot of body weight stuff. Don't do a lot with weights at the moment. So yeah, just like to keep make sure everything's moving in the right direction. Just do the flow in between.
Okay. And then what's the, the thing that we haven't spoke about before? How did that come about, and what is it, and what have you kind of done with this? Do you want to kind of give us a bit of an intro to this?
Yeah, so I've always, right from a kid, been outdoorsy, very interested in nature, want to learn everything I can about it. And then when I finished education, I started work as a postman, which was out in the rural areas. So I was able to sort of continue that there, always out in the sticks, looking at things, taking photos, what have you. And then when I started working in the gym, you know what it's like, 16-hour days, pretty much non-stop, and artificial environment, light, air, noise. And I kind of lost to a degree my nature connection. Then two things happened. First of all was I took my level 4 GP referral, and which is great, get some good results of that. But everything I noticed coming in was physical issues. All the referrals were physical. So I started pushing it a little bit with the local doctors and the social prescribers on mental health. Been a good reason for being prescribed that as well. So that kind of took off. Made a lot of good contacts with that. Started working with Vitality or Vital Health and Mind, etc. Doing not webinars, but seminars with them and things like that. So from there, went on to take my mental health first aid qualification, and that was I was getting some good results with that with people, signposting one thing and another. And then, I hate to say it, lockdown came along, and it was probably the thing that did the most for me personally. Obviously, couldn't work as much. Started exploring all the local area around where we are in Chelmsford and Writtle, the local green spaces. Then I took to volunteering, looking after the sort of local habitat and things. And then along came a qualification called Wellbeing in Nature, which is a level 3 NVQ. Took that, which means I could start taking groups out in the natural environment to help them reconnect to their natural side. And then the next thing along was forest bathing, etc. And from there, really, we now work with the NHS, the RHS, Chelmsford Volunteer Service, Chelmsford City Council, hospices, all sorts of groups that can benefit from, getting their best out of their local green spaces, because we are a part of nature. We decided to become apart from it. So honestly, I could go on for hours and hours about it.
No,
But
this is really good
basically,
because this is so interesting. Because I can see Pete nodding along because he is someone who loves being out in nature and walks his dog for hours every day and runs
brilliant,
a thing called Walk Bath in Bath, where they do a weekly walk and connecting with nature. So I think that what you're
fantastic.
saying, we can all kind of recognize. I mean, I say we can all. I mean, I can recognize. I hope people can recognize. And it was lovely the way you kind of said about being in an artificial environment, you know, all day with artificial lighting,
That
background.
was the word I was looking for. I knew you said something about environment. I put
Yeah,
unnatural, but it was
yeah,
artificial, because that's
yeah.
really interesting. When you said getting into the fitness industry, and then you end up in 16 hours in a gym in an artificial environment, is like
Yeah,
the opposite of health. So yeah, sorry.
totally,
So
totally.
so
Yeah, no,
what
that's great.
so
Good point.
forest bathing then was the phrase, forest bathing. What does that mean? You know, what does that involve? What what is
Right.
it?
So, forest bathing itself is a Japanese practice, otherwise known as Shinrin Yoku. And basically, what happened, you know what the Japanese work ethic is like? Yeah, they're like ants. They're constantly on the go all the time. And the government over there started realizing that they were losing a lot of productivity through sick. There were people burning out, um, and general health of the nation was suffering badly. And they decided to get the Japanese equivalent of their forestry commission to conduct studies, university-backed studies, to see what the benefits are of getting people back out into a green environment. And Japan is the third most forested country in the world, so it's a perfect ideal for it. And the idea of it is anchored in Shinto, which is, you know, a Japanese religion that is a very very natural connection. Um, and the health benefits, honestly, it's as long as your arm. You've got obviously reduced levels of stress and anxiety, a reduction in the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, and more activation of the parasympathetic nervous system. So your fight or flight goes to relax and recovery. It can reduce blood pressure, increase the efficiency of the heart. Your immune system gets a massive boost from being out in a natural environment, which I'll sort of talk about in a little bit more detail as we go on. Better sleep patterns, better productivity, which is what the Japanese obviously want to see. It helps you turn off the monkey brain. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard of something called attention restoration theory. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you
Sorry,
spend your whole
we're
day,
both shaking our heads. If
yeah,
we're both
that's
shaking our
cool.
heads.
That neatly leads me into it. So basically, what it involves is, like we are now, you've got people will spend 8 hours a day stuck in front of a computer. They've got targets, they've got spreadsheets, they've got meetings, phone calls, etc. And their focus is forced into doing that. And it's extremely debilitating, extremely fatiguing. So ART takes people out into the natural spaces where you help them regain their soft attention, which basically is you're drawn to something. So say you hear a bird singing up in a tree, you're looking for that bird. So you're concentrating and looking for that, but it's not forced concentration. You've been drawn to it. And that can have an extremely beneficial effect on restoring normal brain patterns, increasing energy levels, etc., etc. And if our workforce was allowed to take a break in a green space and their half-hour lunch break, half an hour, getting back to work, you would save on sort of hours lost to sick leave, you would increase productivity, you'd have a happier workforce, and a happier workforce is always going to be more productive. for me, that's not the main reason to do it. But from an industry point of view, it could actually save industry a lot of money. Okay. So that's part of it as well. And one of the most interesting things they found beneficiary wise is the increase in NK cell activity. So the natural killer cells that attack cancerous cells in the human body. Yeah. And studies conducted have proven that spending 2 hours a week in your local green space, it needs to be half an hour a day, will increase natural killer cell productivity greatly for the next 30 days. So 20 minutes a day, save your life. You know, a big problem we have now is living in what's known as a weird society, which you've obviously heard of, yeah? Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and funny enough, democratic. So we're told what to do. So that brings with it its own pressures. You must have this, you've got to do that. You need all this money, you need the big house, you need these 60-inch TV, etc., the latest car. You don't need any of it. It complicates life, it makes you more stressed. So when you come out of that frame of mind and that lifestyle and just live life more simply, you're much more chilled, and there's no better place to do that than outside. And there's various activities, various invitations that we give people to do that help them forget the schedule, forget the shopping list, even, you know, forget they've got to get home for their latest TV show. And before you know it, 2 hours, they've not realised how the time has gone, but they're feeling so much better for it.
This is great, Nick. I mean, again, Pete is just nodding his nodding.
I'm done. I'm done. That's it. We can just leave it there. That's it. That's all you need to do is listen to that, and then we don't need to do any more podcasts.
I mean, it's great. I mean, we the last podcast that came out, not the one that was last week, but again, I don't want to get. I'm in podcast time warp here, but the Keep It Simple, where we were just talking about the simplifying life and trying to not make things so complicated and make things more basic. I mean, from your perspective, Nick, I mean, is there any, would this include things like gardening or having an allotment or, you know, all that kind of stuff as well? Does it have to be that you consciously go to, you know, a wood or a forest or a field, or could it be as simple as, you know, like I say, garden or allotment? Or, I mean, I know there's benefits to being at, but are there benefits just to being outside in nature and just getting away from the technology and, like you said, the false lighting and all this kind of stuff?
Yeah. Turn the phone off or leave it behind, but you could have 2 or 3 house plants in an office and people will feel better, whether they know it or not. So anything from a window box, if you live in a flat, your communal garden, yeah, your own garden if you're lucky to have one. I've always been lucky enough to have my own garden, so I can just go out and sit there and talk to the fish in the pond and see what the birds are up to. So it could be, yeah, anything from a balcony. Allotments are fantastic because you've also got this this element of weird society makes you turn off from other people. And that obviously came to a head during lockdown, where people lost the ability to socialize. And they're still feeling the effects of that now. It's had a huge knock-on effect, especially with children that lost, you know, they lost all their playmates, they lost all their schoolmates, but adults as well. And there are what are called the 5 ways to well-being. Yeah. First one is, oh dear, I've got to get it now, haven't I? First one is to, yeah, get outside, exercise more. The second one is to make a connection. That could be saying hello to someone, they say hello back. You may have just made their day. And then you might see them the next day as work could develop into a little bit of a conversation. We are a social animal. Then you've got giving back. That could be volunteering in some way. It could be leaving a corner of your garden wild. So the pollinators have somewhere to thrive. You've got never stop learning. Keep the brain active. We know that brain cells die over time. And there's a big issue with that as you get older in terms like of dementia, etc., Alzheimer's disease. So keep your brain working. And that means, you know, I'll say to someone, right, what is that tree? They don't know. Great. Go home and find out all about it. They find out about one tree, then they want to know what the next tree is, and so on. And so you build that, or it's learning a language, anything where you're keeping your brain moving. Exercise is good for that, builds new brain cells. We know that. Yeah. And the fifth one, which I think is my favorite, is take notice. If you are walking down a road, you hear a robin singing on a wall, just stop and look at it and listen to it a little bit longer. It's going to make your day. It's going to make you feel a lot better. So take the earpods out. Don't go in a straight line. Meander. Yeah, we want to get to A to B, but taking as much of the alphabet as well on the way to B. Yeah, don't go for a walk through the woods. Go for a walk in the woods. Yeah. A lot of this has come around in the last 200 years with the birth of the Industrial Revolution. 85% of the population in this country moved into urban areas. They didn't have a garden, let alone fields to walk in. And so that's really dragged us down those last 200 years, which is a pinprick in time when you consider how long this planet's been around. So the loss of the nature connection has been coming on for a long, long time, and it's just reached a head now where actually people do need to reconnect. We share 16% of our DNA with trees. So they're our relations. Yeah. Go meet the family.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is I'm loving this.
I know, I can tell, Pete. This is new. This is great. You're loving it, aren't you?
This is what I talk about all the time.
Yeah.
In the walk. I mean, do you obviously something that you haven't kind of touched on, and I'm sure it's part of it, is the community aspect as well of people doing it together. Because like I say, I've got a walking group and we just go out once. I say we go every Saturday at 9 a.m. It goes without fail.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
And it's the connections that people make, because someone was asking about the other day, and it's like, well, does everyone know each other? And I'm like, well, they do now. The people who keep coming back, and then the odd person will turn up and never come back because it's not really for them and stuff like that, which is fine. But it's all about being outside, and what you were talking about looking around, listening to birds, noticing. I mean, I do that all day long. I've got a garden as well.
Fantastic.
But the thing about, if you're looking at a screen all day long as well, your world does that, doesn't it? And it just comes all in. And then that's why people get tight shoulders and neck and everything like that.
Yep.
Because your eyes are actually part of your brain, aren't they? And then the muscles around your eyes contract and all of that. Whereas if you look out over the horizon or out into the distance, it relaxes and actually literally opens up your world, doesn't it? And relaxes your body and takes away stress and tightness and all that. So all these people doing stretches and then sitting down again at their desk or whatever, it's like, if you go out for a walk, that's better than stretching, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely right.
You know, so what's good to hear is that, because I've been saying all this for ages as well, is that it's actually there's someone else. I absolutely love it.
It's a growing movement, Pete. It's a growing movement.
Well, the other thing that strikes me is that everyone's digital, everyone's online now, like you were saying, and it's and so everyone's online. I mean, when I was at work, when I had an office job, I didn't know my neighbours at all. I never saw them because I was never here. I was in the office all day and then in the pub, basically. So that there's that, and then what you were saying about 85% of the time, what was it?
5% of the population.
Yes, that was
in urban areas.
Yeah, but then there's another thing with within neurology that I think something like, because of the way we are wired, is like it's like 85 to 90% of your thoughts are negative or about negative things because you're waiting for the beast to come or whatever. And something like 70% of them, or it might be slightly more, 75%, are recurring as well. So imagine what that does to you while you're sitting trying to figure out a problem at a laptop or something, instead of just going out and forgetting all that in nature. I think it's huge. honestly.
That is absolutely massive, and you can mend the health of so many people. I'm not saying it's a cure-all. Nothing's a cure-all. But, you know, the big pharmaceuticals don't care about causes. They care about symptoms
Yeah.
because they treat symptoms. That's where their money is. They'd rather people take tablets and are subdued, so they keep coming back for more.
Yeah.
You know, they will fight things like this the whole time, and they've got a lot of clout with the NHS and the government because their profits are huge from keeping people away from a green space. And a lot of modern day diseases, 20th, 21st century diseases, weren't heard of before.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
we changed things like diet.
Type 2 diabetes is a huge one, isn't it? I mean, the rise in that, over the last 40 years is huge. I was looking at this the other day as well. I think obesity has doubled in the last 30 years. It went from 14% to like 28, 29% or something, and a third of the population are obese and overweight. And I was looking at it in terms of steps as well. And the average number of steps, it actually says it on my phone, on the health app on my phone. It tells me what, I've said this before, tells me what the average is of what people do who use a Samsung, right? That's going to be a lot of but I actually Googled it as well and had a look, and it is like the average person does 5,000. That's the average. So well, there'll be more than half of people doing less than 5,000 steps a day, which isn't even 2 miles. So it's like, it's really scary. And then that'll be where you get into the realms of like, what can I do about this? And you feel stuck at home, and literally just go out the front door and go for a walk around the block could help, or go and find a park or whatever.
Yeah, you know, there's little community groups springing up, and they do a lot of urban gardening and things like that. But there's a big movement now to reintroducing trees into urban environments. In the States, cities like Chicago and New York with massive crime rates, people were scared to go out. They wouldn't leave their neighborhood. They quite often leave their flat. They wouldn't let the kids out. Then the government department started planting trees on streets. All of a sudden, you've heard of the heat island effect as well, obviously, where all this concrete, all this brick just absorbs the heat and then spreads out, increases health risks to people. You know, people have a lower life expectancy living in a city, but it increases the chance of non-communicable diseases. One, by people not wanting to go out because they live on ugly streets, and also the effects of heat, with people being stuck indoors, they just get stale. And once you started greening up the spaces, then people came out more. They started to know their neighbours. The kids started playing in the streets again. Crime went down because there's a better feeling in the neighbourhoods. And this is starting to gain some momentum in the UK, obviously without any government support, because it's all about the next dollar. It's not profitable. No matter how much you tell them how much money can be saved, like how many millions can be saved by increasing people's access to green spaces, the reduction on the stress on the health services, the hours lost at work again, as I say, people not being fit enough to work. It's a huge cost, financial cost. You cannot tell that to the government.
When I used to work, I used to work in GP referrals kind of years ago, probably nearly 20 years ago now, at Chelmsford Borough Council. And I remember then we did have the option for people to be referred for, it was kind of like a blanket referral, I suppose. And they lumped kind of stress, anxiety, depression, you know, into one. You know, so you'd get people and you'd see where they were coming through. Some would obviously be for you know, strokes, or, you know, they've had cancer or cardiac rehab. But then even back then, nearly 20 years ago, and I mean, I know it's a lot more prolific and a lot more out there now, but you know, stress, anxiety, depression was such a big thing. And I know as an employer and someone who talks to a lot of people who run businesses, that is a massive, you mentioned the Japanese, studies and increasing productivity and people feeling happier and less stressed. I mean, that whole, stress, anxiety, depression kind of, that is a pandemic in itself, isn't it? In modern
Absolutely it is.
society. Um,
Mm.
and everybody, I think, probably who's listening to this knows. I mean, I love being by the water, by being on a beach or being lakes or by water, rivers and things like that. I mean, there's you could probably talk about that in a minute, 'cause there must be something around that, I'd imagine, about being in natural
Absolutely there
water.
is.
But I think everybody probably acknowledges that they feel better when they're outside and when they're in nature and when it's a nice day and they're out in fresh air. And I think that's kind of common. We kind of almost inherently know that, don't we? Just as a species, that we feel better, but
Yeah,
we've been dumbed down, haven't we? I suppose, and
yeah. It's in
domestic.
our DNA.
Yeah.
Trees release. I will get to the water in a minute. Really interesting point you raised there. But trees release phytochemicals and phytoncides that actually absorb through our lungs and our skin, that give out that they're the tree's own self-defense system. Yeah. I could tell you about the relationship between trees, but that'd probably take another hour. But we absorb those chemicals through our lungs and skin, and it increases the productivity of the microbiome in the gut. It increases the immune system. Picking up a handful of leaf litter off the forest floor, sniff it. Great, you're just taking in all these brilliant natural drugs. But people are scared of dirt. They're scared of getting dirty. They're scared of what might be in the woods. Nothing but, Pete, you're probably the same. There's nothing better than going out for a walk in the forest at night, is there?
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant. That's it. What more need you say?
So
But yeah,
what's the water thing then, Nick? Because I think I just love, the sound of it, the smell
Yeah.
of it, the freshness of it, getting in there,
Absolutely.
swimming in the water, it's just, what is it about water?
It's fantastic. It is a return to the natural. It's also allowing the other senses to come awake again. Our main sense, obviously, is sight. If you allow your hearing to take center stage, you shut your eyes, you allow your hearing to take center stage, you touch the sand, you touch the pebbles, you touch the shells, get the textures, get the feeling of that in your hands, you feel the wind and the sun in your face. Get the other senses alive, get them awake. And also at sea level, and actually by a lot lakes and rivers, the air becomes deionized, and that really helps in boosting your immune system. Yeah, so there's physical and psychological reasons, but water, and just listen to those, especially the winter's day. Yeah, the waves crashing up on the beach. That is just fantastic. It's nature at its most powerful. It's a fantastic thing to see, and that sound just washing over you, yeah, sets you up for the day.
Well,
Yeah.
people use that to go to sleep, don't they? I mean, this is one of the things. These are the noises that people who can't sleep use to go to sleep. Bird song, wind through the trees, wind chimes or whatever, ocean noises, all of those sorts of things. It's like, well, you can get, they're all there. You just need to go.
They are there. They're real. You don't need an app.
So Nick, can we move? I don't want to move but you're now moving into, or you have moved into and become interested in, I believe, sort of like Wim Hof and that kind of thing. And this is great because it does seem almost like a natural progression for you, whereby you got into the fitness industry and you were in this artificial environment, and then you intentionally took yourself out and got involved in more exercising outdoors to begin with, and then you found out the benefits of just being outdoors, and you felt that, and now, so it kind of seems to have been a very kind of organic progression to the forest bathing. And then now what how did you move into the next kind of thing that you're now kind of involved in as well?
Right. Catherine and I last year looking for something different to do. This is leading into the Wim Hof, by the way. So first thing we did, we signed up for a what was called a wood to sea trek across Dartmoor. So we started off in a wild camping in an ancient woodland. Have you heard of oh god, I can't remember the Living Project?
I haven't.
Look them up. Look them
Yeah.
up. They're absolutely fantastic. So we set up with Josh and Emily there, and we did this wild camping trip across Dartmoor. Absolutely loved it. So we thought, right, where do we take that next? And we ended up going to Finland for 10 days. Never been to Finland before, the most forested country in the world. And it involved wild camping, kayaking across Lake Inari, which is like 13,000 kilometers. We didn't do all of it. We were there for 10 days, and you're just island hopping. So you're stopping for an island on an island for a day or two. And it was a very shamanic based experience as well. We did Vision Quest while we were there, which is just absolutely mind blowing. That's just an incredible thing to do if you get the chance. And yeah, we were just everything we needed, we had to carry in the kayaks. There were no luxuries, no nothing at all. You could drink the water in the lake without filtering it, the air, the smell in the trees, everything. There's reindeer wandering around your tent. There's just so many things going on. But while we were there, we were introduced to the Wim Hof basic breathing method. And when I came home, started doing a little bit of it every now and then. And all of a sudden, I thought, got to get more involved in this. So I signed up for the basic first level course, and I decided to put it to the test. So it involves a lot of deep breathing, it involves cold showers, ice baths, and I used to get a lot of lactic acid build up when I get down on a 10-12 mile tab, yeah, or 10-mile run, whatever. And joints would be aching, energy levels would start to, you know, about that pair of you know, it's like when doing endurance event, your energy levels start to dip at all. So I thought, right, let's put it to the test. Is it a gimmick? So I would get up 5 o'clock on a Saturday morning, do 20 minutes deep breathing, go straight out before breakfast, do a 10-mile tab. Energy levels are through the roof, no lactic acid, no DOMS, no joint aches, nothing, because the premise of doing the breathing is you overturn your body from acidic to alkaline. So you're taking out the internal inflammation, which again is responsible for a lot of non-communicable health issues. So I thought this has got a lot of legs. So what's next? Terrible in the cold. I get hypothermia if the sun hides behind a cloud. You know, I'm just absolutely shocking. So I started the ice shower, the cold showers, 15 seconds. This is killing me. I'm now doing 5 minutes, no problem at all. I go out without hat and gloves on in the winter, maybe wear 1 or 2 layers, not 4. My mood is up here. People are saying, what the hell's going on? You know, you're not grumpy. What's up with you? I can't be. I just find it impossible to be grumpy now. And that is down to a combination of things. It is my connection to nature. It is I'm saying the word right, heavily into animism. Everything has a spirit, everything has a soul. Yeah. And getting out there amongst it, knowing that you're connected to all these things, be it a tree, a plant, an animal, a rock, whatever, that there's a connection there. And then the breathing and the, you know, about the ice bars, guys, it takes it to the next level for me. And it's sort of making me such a much more rounded person. So yeah, I've just now started, done the fundamentals with Wim Hof. I've now started the instructor course, which is another 10 weeks. And last night I said, well, what the hell, I've got to go all the way with this. So I'm going to Poland in October to do the final part of the instructor course. And that's when we're going up the mountain in basically underwear.
Your underpants, yeah.
This is
Have
incredible.
you bought yourself, like, are you going to get a new pair of underpants, or are you going to just wear some like bedraggled ones that guys our ages usually have?
Think all that money. I would drive Catherine mad. I had to source everything because I'm a vegan as well and very much into the environmental aspect of everything. She says, "Can we buy such and such?" Yeah, okay, let's have a look. No, you can't have that one. Why? You've seen what it's made of. You've seen where it's sourced from. Yeah, so I'm very particular about my underpants.
Fair enough.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Nothing on and just go out of that vegan underpants. It's loud.
I like that.
This is fantastic. I mean, so this is October when you're going over to Poland, and I think, did you say how many days you are going to be over there for?
5 days.
5 days over in Poland. Wow. And and last year you said in Finland was that 10 days in Finland?
10 days in Finland, and it was. This is something really strange. Catherine has got a nature connection. She's an eco psychotherapist. She's doing forest schools. But she's not quite the same as me with it. Then we went to Finland, which was the singularly most incredible holiday I've ever had in my whole life. I'm not sure how I'm ever going to tap it. And people said, "You paid to kayak and camp on an island with no telly?" Yeah, did. We later that last year went to a wedding in Italy, and we were standing in the hotel looking out the window at the trees that were maybe 2 miles away, and we both just stood there like that at the window going, all we wanted to do was go to the trees. It just left such a profound impact on us both. And now it's just the trees is where I'm at. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, well, considering this is the first time you've ever done a podcast, Nick, this has been a really, really interesting conversation. Like I say, we could go on, but we do need to start to wrap up. But I would definitely love to have you back on again later in the year when you come back from your Wim Hof in October. We definitely have to touch base with you again and talk again. Because this is it's been different, but it's funny because it's been different, but it kind of feels like it's so in tune and in touch with everything that we talk about, isn't it, Pete? Do you know what I mean? But it's,
you could say to me, what would you want someone to say on an episode of a podcast and then put it all together? Nick's just said it all, and he's gone on about being outdoors and all that, and then he talked about the water, and he talked about ice bathing and all that. I mean, you've just lit me and James up. Like, if you could put me and James together, right? All you need is a beard, and you'd be like put together, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? It's absolutely fantastic. And then even talking about that, he's not been on yet. He'll be on one of the episodes coming up before this one. Is David Keown about stone lifting in Ireland and all of that, and that's like the aspect of. Look him up, by the way. He's called Indiana Stones on Instagram. You'll love it. But he's basically, he was a kettlebell sport guy and all that, and now he's he was previously a drinking, smoking, football watching fat boy before that, but then he got fit and what have you. Now he's going around discovering lifting stones. So that's like the primal thing and connection to nature.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Outside all the time. Like, he spends his weekends going around lifting stones, and he's going to spend the rest of his life doing it. Honestly,
bless him.
Great. So it fits with that sort of thing as well, and it just
primal strength. Yeah, I would just actually say about that, that's obviously intense exercise. If anyone is considering forest bathing as a way to get back out there, don't be put off. It's not a hike, it's not a route march, it's a very gentle walk covering very small distances, just taking time out. It's, you can set up a session somewhere that's suitable for anybody. It hasn't got to be out in the wilds in the middle of nowhere.
And like I say, it's about just being out in nature, isn't it? And reconnecting to, the natural light, the natural sounds, the natural sights, the feel, all of that, it's a great message. And I think it's something that we'll definitely talk about this again, Nick. Now, Nick, are you on social media much? Are you kind of like I don't know if you are. I'm just wondering if people want to kind of find out more about you, or maybe wanted to see what you're up to or get in touch, is there any way that people could maybe connect with you? Or are you kind of, I know you're obviously kind of outdoors a lot and kind of not really into the tech so much, but is there a way for
Yeah.
people to get in touch if they wanted to?
Best way is probably the email address, because I don't do Twitter, I don't do, I don't know, I don't know what they call Instagram, anything like that. So I haven't got the time or the inclination. I like to leave the phone at home and just go and do. So you can have the email address if you like.
Yeah, what's the email for people if they just want to find out a bit more or get some advice, or just reach out to you
Yeah,
after this
sure.
episode? Yeah.
It's healthy NHY, short for healthy nature, healthy you,
Yeah.
@gmail.com.
Gmail.com. Cool.
Yeah, because I do well-being talks as well and presentations, things like that. So I'm always happy to chat.
Excellent. So healthynhy @gmail.com. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Brilliant. Cool. Thank you so much, Nick. That's been fantastic, and we definitely will hold you to that coming back on when you get back from Poland. And yeah, that it's just so it's different, but it's different, but it's the same. It ties in with
yeah,
everything that we talk about. So no,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because there's no point in having all this knowledge if you're not sharing it.
Hmm.
You keep it to yourself. No one's gaining from that. You're not gaining from it. You've got to share.
Yeah. Brilliant. Nick, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate you asking me on.
Yeah, no, it was great, and we'll definitely do it again. Yeah, so thank you everybody for listening. That was episode 195 with Nick Rainbird, and hopefully, I mean, just a little takeaway from that is get outside. You know what I mean? Get outside more, disconnect, leave the phone at home. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, outside in your garden, local park, local woods, reconnect with nature. I think it's such a powerful, powerful message. Anything you'd like to say, Pete, just as we wrap up? Or
No, Nick said everything I was going to say.
Nick said everything you can say. Brilliant. Just a very quick reminder, guys, please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're watching or listening on a platform that allows you to do so. And especially if you can, go onto Apple Podcasts and leave us a review on there. And Pete keeps an eye on there. And as we get new reviews come in, we'll read them out on the podcast, and we'll be giving away some merchandise like t-shirts, hoodies, and things like that. We will be back next week for episode 196. We've got a few guests lined up between now and 200. We're just kind of finalizing a few ones, and we've got someone lined up for episode 200 as well. So we've got some more guests coming up. I don't know. We haven't got anyone confirmed for next week yet, but do watch out on Instagram and things, because we probably will have someone next week. But yeah, thank you so much for everything, guys. Like I say, coming up to the 4th year of doing this now, and we're gathering and meeting new people every week who watch and listen. So we really do appreciate you all. So until next time, bye-bye.